All right, today we're going to be working on some word problems that are dealing with our customary units. So we'll be using all the different units of customary measure that we've been talking about. We're going to be doing units of length, units of weight, and units of capacity. All right, so let's take a look at some of these problems. All right, so the first problem we have here, it's broken down into all the different sections, but let's take a look at what the problem says. Okay, a carton of large grade A eggs weigh about 1.5 pounds. If a carton holds a dozen eggs, how many ounces does each egg weigh? All right, so we know how much the whole carton of eggs weighs, about 1.5 pounds or 1.5 pounds. Okay, and then we know that eggs come in a dozen in a carton. So how many ounces does each egg weigh? So first thing we notice that we're starting with pounds and we're changing to ounces, okay? And we want to know, well, how many ounces does each egg weigh? All right, so the first thing I want to do, well, let's figure out, well, how many ounces is the whole carton? All right, so we're going to think about the whole carton of eggs and we want to do it in ounces. So I need to think to myself, well, 1 pound is how many ounces? And we can use our chart that we have to go ahead and double check that 1 pound is 16 ounces. Okay, so 1 pound is 16 ounces. So 1 pound is 16 ounces. So how I would solve this problem is I'm going to take the weight of our carton and I'm going to multiply it by the 16 ounces in 1 pound. And I'm going to let you guys use your calculator for these problems today because we're using a lot of big numbers and we're going to be using our calculators for this. All right, so you can go ahead and put 1.5 times 16 into your calculator to find out that there's 24 ounces total in this carton, 24 ounces total. All right, but now I need to find out the amount of ounces for each egg. I haven't found the problem yet. I found out how much our carton weighs in ounces. Now I want to figure out, well, the question is how much ounces does each egg weigh? So now we need to figure out each egg, all right? So in ounces, find the weight of each egg in the carton. So I'm going to think 1 carton is a dozen eggs. So 1 carton is 12 eggs, right? There's 12 eggs in an egg carton. All right, so I'm going to take my 24 ounces, divide it by the 12 eggs that we have, and I'm going to figure out 24 divided by 12. That's a basic fact, should be 2 ounces. The ounces of 1 egg is 2 ounces. 24 divided by 12 is 2. So each egg in this carton weighs about 2 ounces. All right, we found out how much the whole carton weighed in ounces. We changed it from pounds to ounces. Then we divided those ounces by how many eggs were in the carton to find out that it was 2 ounces altogether. Let's try one more problem. Okay, so let's take a look down here. After each soccer practice, Scott runs 4 sprints of 20 yards each. If he continues his routine, how many practices will it take for Scott to have sprinted a total of 2 miles combined? So let's take a look at this. So we want to know how many practices it will take for Scott to have sprinted a total of 2 miles. All right, and after every practice, he does 4 sprints of 20 yards. Okay, so we're talking about yards to miles here. All right, so I need to figure out how many yards is 2 miles, and then figure out, well, how many practices will it take him to get to those 2 miles of yards? So Scott sprints how many yards in each practice? Well, he does 4 sprints of 20 yards. So that would be 4 times 20. So he does 80 yards each practice. 4 times 20 is 80. And there are so many yards in 2 miles. Well, let's go back to our chart. And we're going to look at yards and miles. 1 mile is 1,760 yards. So 2 miles would be 2 times 1,760. So let's go ahead and put that in our calculator. 2 times 1,760. And I get 3,520 yards in 2 miles. Okay, so there are 3,520 yards in 2 miles. He will need to continue how many practices? So I want to know, well, how many groups of 80, each practice he goes 80 yards, are in 3,520? How many groups of 80 are in 3,520? So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to divide 3,520 divided by 80 to figure out how many practices it's going to take for him to have sprinted 2 miles. So again, you can go ahead and use your calculator for this problem. 3,520, which is I still have in my calculator from last part, divided by 80 equals 44. So it will take him 44 practices, and after 44 practices, he would have sprinted a total of 2 miles. All right, so for each of these problems, we're going to figure out what we're looking for. We might need to convert one unit measure to another. Here we had to change the miles into yards so we could figure out how many practices it took him because we knew how many yards he did each practice. Okay, up here we had to change ounces and pounds. So we're going to take a look. I'll do a couple other example problems in the next video.